Good afternoon. My name is Helen Simonton and I am the sales executive in Open5th. I'm going to talk to you all today about customizing your library's OPAC, what you can do with the Koha Library Management System. Now, we have done a few different webinars and What's on Our Mind videos giving an overview of the Koha OPAC, the user experience, and some customizations, all of which are available on our YouTube channel at Open5th Limited. And I don't want to repeat any of those here. I also want to make it really clear that part of the implementation project each new Open5th customer goes through includes setting up their OPAC. And for current customers of Open5th, they can come to us at any time for help with this. What I want to do today is have a look at the options available to anyone using the Koha OPAC that shows their libraries what they do and what they don't do. So I've just got a couple of links to the different webinars and the What's on Our Mind videos there. I'm just going to dive in and get started straight away and talk about the OPAC homepage. So hopefully you've all seen our demo at some point or seen what out of the box OPAC looks like for Koha. And this diagram here is actually from the Koha manual, so you can go and look at that at any time. I also want to just point out quickly Jake's What's on Our Mind video, prettifying your Koha OPAC with the Synix plugin very quickly, because using that plugin makes customizing the OPAC to suit your branding and colors very easy for people who are new to CSS or HTML customizations. The Koha's HTML customizations tool allows staff to make changes and post content to the OPAC. The Koha OPAC uses HTML and other things that I don't really want to confuse everyone, i.e. myself, with right now. But I am going to show you a couple of different things of what you can do. So the OPAC is broken up into different locations. You've got the OPAC header, the OPAC custom search along the top here, and you can see that reflected in the diagram. Then down on the left-hand side, you've got the OPAC nav and the OPAC nav bottom. And you can see that reflected in the diagram. Then in the middle, we've got the OPAC news and OPAC main user block. Over on the right, you've got the OPAC login and the OPAC nav right. And then along the bottom, you've got the OPAC credits. I'm going to use the HTML customizations to make a very simple change to the OPAC. So I'm going to come out of my slide and just start diving straight in. We go to Tools. We go to HTML customizations. And the first thing you can see here is the table of all the different customizations that we have added to the OPAC demo. Just to note, staff with the Edit Additional Contents permission or the Super Librarian permission will have access to this tool, and I'm a Super Librarian, which gives me access to it. Now, for each of these different customizations that we've made, if I scroll across here, you can preview the content, you can edit it, or you can delete it. So for example, if I scroll down, oh, I'm struggling to scroll down a little bit. If I preview this OPAC main user block, you can see that we've got Bertram's Top 10, Mind Boosting Books, TV Book Club, and NHS Policy. If I go into Edit, then you can see all the information about this particular block. So you can see the display location, and in this case, it's the OPAC main user block, but I have a drop-down menu that gives me all of the other areas that I might want to be making some content for. I can see what libraries that this will be shown on. We have selected all libraries, but if I wanted to select one particular one, say for example, the Green Library, I could do that. The publication date is a required field, but the expiration date isn't. And if you don't fill that section in, it will be displayed until you remove it manually. Then the appear in position, I'm going to talk about in a minute. And then underneath that, you can see that we can enter content for each of the different languages that we have on our demo. I can give it a title, and then you can see the content that we saw in the preview. Now, obviously on the actual OPAC itself, let me just jump back to that. There are actual book carousels, and you can't see that in this section here, but you can see it if you go to the source code, which is available here, and that's the code here. I'm not going to go into that. That's too much of a deep dive for me today. So I'm just going to hit save and go back to where I was. Don't forget to hit save if you do make any changes. Now, I'm going to talk about the appear in position because you can have more of the same, you can have multiple versions of the same block on the homepage. So OPAC main user block, you can see that one was the one we were looking at here, but we have another one of those up here. So if I have a look at that, you can see that it is in position 1. If this field is left empty, the content will appear from oldest to newest. And in this field, 0 is the topmost position. And then the larger the number, the lower in the list the content will appear. So because this is in position 1 and the previous one, it was actually 0, but it didn't show what it was. You can see as I scroll down, this one is in the position 0. And as I scroll down, the other block, which has these different formatted carousels, are in position 1. So to really help you understand that a little bit better, let's just add a new block and see what it looks like. So I'm back in my HTML customizations. I'm going to go to new entry and I'm just going to fill in the information as I go along. I want OPAC main user block. I'm happy for it to show in all libraries. I want it to be published today. I also want it to expire today, and I'm going to put it in position 2 so that it comes underneath both of those previous blocks that are already there. I'm going to give it the title of Library Open. And in the content, I'm just going to say the library is open. And then I'm going to hit save. If I go to our OPAC, so we've got our, I'm going to refresh it as well. Sorry, don't forget to do that so you can actually see the changes that it's made. We've got our first main block, which has our carousels at the top. Then we've got our second block of carousels that are formatted in a slightly different way. And then as I scroll down to the bottom, underneath that, we've got the library is open. So that is a very brief and simple introduction to HTML customizations. The more familiar and comfortable with HTML customizations you are, the more you can do with it. My advice is to take it slow and easy, and please do ask us for help. But I don't want to just look at HTML customizations today, and not all customizations available on the OPAC require the HTML customizations tool. I want to start looking around the OPAC a little bit more and show you some of the other ways you can customize the OPAC to reflect what your library does. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to search for the long way to a small and angry planet. And I'm going to verify that I am indeed a human being. And it has taken us straight to our lovely record of this absolutely brilliant book. I highly recommend actually reading it. But you may want to let your users know that other libraries and other catalogs exist. And the way to do that is to use this more searches section. So if I click on that, you can see that we have links to lots of other library catalogs. If I look at Library Hub Discover, for example, it takes me to the Library Hub Discover catalog, and it's taken me straight to their record for A Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet. And the way that you use this button is if we go to the staff interface, if I go back to my dashboard and I go to Koha administration, I want to search for OPAC search for title in system preference. So I'm just going to copy and paste it into there and then hit the little arrow. And you can see OPAC search for title in. And if I click on the edit button, you can then see all of those links that we had in that more search section copied and pasted into here. So the very first one you can see there is the Library Hub Discover. Now, if you don't fill this section in, if you leave this blank, then that more searches button will not appear on the OPAC. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is if your library wants to allow your users to search for authority records, you can set the OPAC authority system preference to allow. On our OPAC, if I go back to the home page, you can see along the top here, these links, we don't have the authority search link here. But if I go to OPAC authorities, and if I just actually type OPAC authorities this time and search for that one, it's currently set to don't allow. If I change it to allow, save my OPAC preferences, and go back to my homepage and refresh it, you can see that I now have a link to the authority search section within the OPAC. The next thing I want to look at is along this line as well, and it's the libraries link. We have, as I'm sure you know, quite a few different libraries connected to our demo. And if you want your users to be able to find those libraries and see the links to them, this is where you do that. You set the OPAC Show Library System preference to show, and provided at least one of your other libraries is public, this link to the libraries page will be displayed. However, if you don't want to advertise those other branches or libraries, you can simply set that preference to don't show and the link disappears. So I will just show you that really quickly, because the other thing that I want to really emphasize is how instantaneous Koha responds to these changes that you make. So if I change that one to don't show, always save so that it actually works. And then I refresh my page, that libraries link is now gone. So far, we've looked at customizations that anyone browsing your OPAC can interact with. Next, it's interesting, I didn't actually notice that. Next, we're going to start looking at things that if people want to interact with, they need to be registered users of your library, which neatly takes me to the first option. So I'm going to go back to the homepage, and you can see that for our demo, we allow our users to register via the OPAC through this create account link. If I click on that, you can see the form that I can fill in if I want to register as a user for the Open Fifth library. You will want to have set up a patron self-registration default category before enabling this, and you can choose what information you collect in this form. I cover that in my GDPR processes webinar if you would like more information on that, so I don't have to go into it today. So if I go to that system preference now and show you, so patron self-registration, and change that from allow to don't allow, save my preferences, go back to the OPAC and refresh my page, that link has now disappeared. I'm actually going to set it back to allow because I want to show something else to you in a second. Not all libraries have users that can register and set up accounts. Therefore, they may not want the login to your account to be visible on the OPAC, and that is the OPAC user login system preference. So if I go to it, OPAC user login system preference, I'm going to set that to don't allow, save as always, and refresh my homepage. And the reason why I turned the patron self-registration back on was because I wanted to show you that by removing the login itself, it also removes the patron self-registration, because what's the point in them being able to register if you can't log on to the OPAC in the first place? For those libraries that do allow users to register and log into their accounts on the OPAC, you may want to allow a summary of the user's account on the homepage when they are logged in. Now, for that to work, I need to be able to actually log in. So let's turn that back on and refresh the OPAC. And I'm going to log in to the demo to my account. I'm going to go back to the dashboard and then hopefully you will be able to see my user summary. You might want to give your users the ability to report problems they have encountered on the OPAC. So for example, if there are any broken links or inaccurate information. If I scroll down to the very bottom of the page, you will be able to see report a problem, and then I can fill in this form if there are any information that has gone wrong or I just want to alert the libraries to something. You may want to allow your users to place holds on items. There are a huge number of system preferences relating to holds, so I'm going to just focus on a few. First, let's search for Terry Pratchett. Now, there's lots of different places where you can place a hold if you allow the OPAC holds requests system preference. You can place a hold here in the results. If I go into the actual record itself, I can place a hold here. If I go back to my results and I have a list of them, you can see here that I can select as many of these as I want. And if I go back up, you can see that I am now able to place a hold on all of those items. And that is done via the display multi-place system preference. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is the actual holds table in my account. So if I go to my account and if I go to the holds tab, then you can see the holds table itself, and this can be customized too. So pickup location. If the OPAC allow user to choose branch system preference is enabled, the patron can choose where they'd like to pick up their hold. The list of available pickup locations will include all libraries that have pickup location set to yes on the library configuration page. Then their priority level, the OPAC show hold queues detailed system preference is set to show the priority level. And as you can see that I am number 1 in each of the holds queues. Status. You can see that my top hold here has a status of suspended until the 31st of July, and that in the suspend column, I could resume that so that the hold would be placed from now. Or, for example, if I go to the second one, I could decide that actually, if that was to come in today, I'm not ready for it. So I want to suspend it until next week, whenever I would be able to collect it. So if I click on suspend, you can see that the second one is now suspended until the 24th. And that is OPAC allow hold date in future system preference. I am running out of time a little bit, so I'm just going to show you a few more things on the OPAC so that you know that they are options. Users creating lists to be shared publicly, leaving comments and adding tags. Hopefully you're already aware that users can create their own lists. So in my account, I can see that I've got my lists here, but I actually want to show you this one because this one shows me all of the public lists that are available, and then it splits my lists at the bottom here. So I've got 3 lists that I've created. If I wanted to share any of those lists publicly, I would have to change the OPAC allow public lists creation system preference. So let's do that now. OPAC allow public creation list. I'm going to change that to allow. Save my preference. Go back to the home page and refresh. Now this time I'm going to go into my list section here so that I can see each of my lists and I can edit them. You can always share your lists via email with people, but I want to be able to show this one publicly and I want to show my National Treasure one publicly. So if I go to edit, no, I'm getting a little bit of a circle of death, so let's give it a second. Okay, that's fine. I'll keep talking until that has stopped giving me the circle of death. I would be able to change it from a private list to a public list. I would also be able to give people the option to edit it as well as myself. Then, if I wanted to give people the option of adding comments, if I try searching for Terry Pratchett, it's probably not going to work or be happy. Oh, perfect. So if I was to look at the last continent, and if I scroll down here, you can see in the tab that there is a comment. Now I'm logged in so I can see my comment that everyone should read this book. That hasn't been made public yet. So if I logged out, you wouldn't be able to see this comment because the librarians need to approve it. And the place that they approve these sorts of comments are on your dashboard. Scroll down a little bit and comments pending approval. And you can see that I made the comment, it's about the last continent, and that everybody should read this. So if I approve that now, then that will show on the OPAC, even if I'm not logged in anymore. And then the other one that you want to look at is to set the tags enable system preference to allow people to add tags such as this Discworld one. So if I wanted to add another tag, I could say wizards. Add. And then if I go back to my dashboard and scroll down, I can see that there are 15 tags pending approval. There's that one that I have just put in now. I'm going to approve that and refresh. And then you can see that Wizards has been added as a tag. So that was a very, very quick run through of different ways that you can actually customize the OPAC. I'm just going to go back to my slides so I can show you some of our other webinars that are coming up. We have Customizing Aspen coming up on the 12th. We've got Introducing Adam on the 21st of August, then Working Together, the Koha LMS and Aspen Discovery on the 9th of September. And then on the 18th of September, we've got Catalogue to Community.